Happy Friday Fun Day, everyone! We have a special project for you today. It's the One Passage for Producers. And so far we've seen Joy and Jake take this one on. So we are taking the opening from Herman Melville's Moby Dick, just the first paragraphs, and we are rewriting them in our own voice and our own genre. And then read the original, and then we'll talk about what we are planning to do with it, and then we'll read the changes, and then we will talk about the reason that we made the changes. I hope I got that right. I've been up since like 3-something because I took my husband to the airport stupid early in the morning, and so I am running on fumes and sheer willpower. So I wrote it all down, and I'm just going to be a little scattered, probably more than normal. Anyway, on with the show. Herman Melville's Moby Dick opening. Call me Ishmael. Some years ago, never mind how long precisely, having little or no money in my purse and nothing particular to interest me on shore, I thought I would sail about a little and see the watery part of the world. It is a way I have of driving off the spleen and regulating the circulation. Whenever I find myself growing grim about the mouth, whenever it is a damp, drizzly November in my soul, whenever I find myself involuntarily pausing before coffin warehouses and bringing up the rear of every funeral I meet, and especially whenever my hypos get such an upper hand of me that it requires a strong moral principle to prevent me from deliberately stepping into the street and methodically knocking people's hats off. Then I account it high time to get to sea as soon as I can. This is my substitute for pistol and ball. With a philosophical flourish, Cato throws himself upon his sword. I quietly take to the ship. There is nothing surprising in this. If they but knew it, all men, in their degree, some time or another, cherish very nearly the same feelings toward the ocean with me. I chose romance, which is kind of my favorite all around. It's kind of easier for me to interpret into a romance than it would be for any other sort of genre that I do. And I actually had a lot of ideas, and it was a lot of fun. And so without further ado, I'm just going to move on to my change. And it's kind of self-explanatory. Call me Ishmael. That was days ago. I try not to think about how long it's been. I was broke, lonely, and depressed, and thought it would be a great idea to phone a contact I'd made at a conference in Las Vegas to see if there were any job opportunities in that part of the world. At least, that's what I told myself at the time. I had toyed with the idea before, but as time passed, I began daydreaming about basking under the heat of a desert sun, poolside, in the bikini that sits in the back of my lingerie drawer, waiting for the day I have another chance to escape the damp, drizzly Novembers in Seattle that depress me to my very soul. And I didn't want to do it alone. Before I could turn to the dating websites or find myself gravitating toward the clubs and bars, I found myself Googling a certain man's name, checking out his profile on LinkedIn, wondering if he actually remembered me from that one evening we shared a table, some hors d'oeuvres, and a bottle of wine, geeking out about our line of work and flirting shamelessly, but calling it networking. We'd had a whale of a time. He'd given me his card, and I'd given him mine, but it never got any farther than that. I realized even before I started daydreaming about him that if I had to spend another winter in Seattle, I might just shoot myself. Even if he didn't call me back, I'd find a job somewhere down there, or anywhere else warmer. Even if it turned out that he was taken and I was doing nothing but breaking my own heart, the chance would be worth it. It's not like a slew of other guys I'd been interested had reciprocated. It wouldn't be a great shock to me if he was just another failed prospect. But truly, the guy was hot and successful. It wasn't that I was desperate, merely practical. Any single girl in her right mind would want to date him. If only he'd call me back. So I love changing the wording around to reflect a different genre and gender and time period. Usually the male protagonist is the sailor and the ocean is depicted as the woman he loves. But in this case, I thought if I left in the man's name and the protagonist is female, then the guy can be the goal. And it's set thoroughly in modern times where she is actually looking to escape a marine environment for a dry desert one. So everything's flipped on its head, but it still stays within the scope of the passage. So that was a lot of fun. It's not a typical romance structure. I wanted to try and do the typical romance where you had the woman and the guy both introduced, but since we only had a couple paragraphs, you could just pretend that maybe he's going to call back in the next few paragraphs. I had to figure out what exactly would be the equivalent to like a hypochondriac's death wish. I also had to look up hypos, which back at the time meant depression and anxiety and things like that. Hypochondriacs. It was a little bit different than just being, thinking you were sick all the time, but you're just depressed and angry. So it seemed like a lovelorn single career woman would find clubs, bars, and dating websites to be the closest thing to kissing her soul goodbye. So that seemed to work. And then I love puns, and I hope you groaned. It seemed more tasteful than turning the guy into Moby Dick, but we haven't met him yet, have we? Maybe he'd end up being the one that got away, or maybe he'd be worth harpooning in the end. I need to stop now. Yeah, anyway. Shoutouts! Joy and Jake, I loved your passages. This was such a fun project. We need to do it again. You guys did such a great job. Like, I really loved your take on it, and it was great to hear your writing again, and so I think that we need to do this again. Lydia, congratulations on your goal successes. I think we all had some success to some measure in our goals, and I loved hearing about yours, and I am excited to see you try and meet your next ones, and I'm really excited to read your book someday. I'm also very, very excited to hear your take on this passage on Sunday. And by the way, Lydia, I loved your lipstick color. It was fabulous. It was such a good color. I will cut this off now, and maybe it will get uploaded before midnight. Who knows? Anyway, have a great week, everybody. I will talk to you next Friday, I hope. Okay? Bye! Last minute thing. Joy asked me to post my blog websites. I have 2 of them. They're okay. They're not much, really. But they're in the description. So they are what they are. And you can read them if you want to. I haven't updated in a long time, but I would like to do so, especially since I used to do it all the time and I don't know why I stopped. But thanks for the encouragement, Joy. I will give it another shot. Okay, I'll talk to you later. Bye.